Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Pasadena Jewish Temple and Center. For those of you who are new to our Shabbatot, welcome, whether you're on Zoom or on Facebook or YouTube or StreamSpot or God knows where. We will soon have an opportunity to click in our chats for the prayer book that we will be using it. If you have one with you, is the Sim Shalom, and if not, feel free to click and use the one that we are sharing with you online. I want to also let you know that I am accompanied today and happy to lead services with Jill Goldwright, who is a member of our not only davening team, but student of Torah and advanced in her rabbinical studies. And she's agreed, thank God, to help me since Rabbi is on vacation. Rabbi will be on vacation this Shabbat and be back with us on Sunday. So feel free to be in touch with either of us if you need to. It's been a very difficult week, and we'll address it a little bit as we enter Shabbat. In the meantime, I hope that you can take a deep breath, that you can close your eyes for a moment and connect with the internal peace that we hope to carry with us through this 25 hours of this gift of Shabbat, and try to bring that peace into the world, particularly at this time. If you want to join us, we are on page 13 of our prayer book, and we'll start with Shalom Aleichem, welcome the angels. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Yasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh, Baruch Hu. Mohem L'Shalom, Malachei Yashalom, Malachei Mi melech malachai amlachim hakadosh baruch hu baruchuni l'shalom malachai shalom malachai elyon Mi melech malachai amlachim hakadosh baruch hu Tzechem l'shalom, malachei shalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei amlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Yai lai la lai lai, yai la lai la lai la lai, yai la lai la 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 la. Yai lai la lai lai, yai la lai la lai 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 lai. Tzechem l'shalom, malachei shalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei amlachim hakadosh baruch hu. As it has become our custom, we take very seriously participation and engagement in our congregation. We have now the privilege to have the Masjidi family joining us as we light the Shabbat candles. And also, I'm looking forward to hearing the story of these particular candle lightings. So we go to the Masjidi family now for candle lighting.
Good evening and welcome to our home. Tonight we wanted to share our 2 sets of very special candlestick holders. The first were my grandparents, my first Judaic teachers, who passed them down to me. They purchased them in Israel over 65 years ago. I was so blessed to share many wonderful years with them, and they got to meet each of our children before they passed away 10 and 11 years ago at the ages of 99 and 100. And we have them here this evening. The second set, this very special handmade ceramic set, was made by my mom, better known as Mammy, or the Katzmans that have joined us this evening. She made these for Elijah and presented them to him in his bar mitzvah 3.5 years ago with the hope that he would continue lighting Shabbat candles for the rest of his life. The Jewish phrase Lador Vador refers to continuity, to the responsibility of passing on spiritual knowledge and cultural traditions from generation to generation for the purpose of sustaining the customs, heritage, and collective memory of the Jewish people. I'm incredibly grateful that we have honored this in my family, and I'm truly honored that we get to light candles with all of you tonight. So please join us. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'zitzoranu l'chagig ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
So we just lit the Shabbat candles. We are formally entering this oasis of peace. And I want to share with you something that I read from one of the singers that I discovered a long time ago. Her name is Mira Awad. She and Achinoam Nini sang this song called There Must Be Another Way. The song says, there must be another way. There is another way. It is dialogue from a place of mutual recognition and respect. It is goodwill and the willingness to compromise. It is the sanctification of life and not death. There is another way. It could be perhaps the understanding that we are all connected in sorrow and in joy. Perhaps it's the courage to face the truth, or rather, the truths, even when it hurts, and the courage to move on into an imperfect but illuminated future. The song says, when I cry for both of us. My pain has no name. When I cry to the merciless sky and say, there must be another way. How do we wish that these words were irrelevant today in 2021? This song was written in 2009. Our hearts go out to everyone who is in pain, who is in loss, from both sides of the fence. Let's keep those thoughts and our prayers in our hearts as we turn to page 15 and enter formally this Shabbat. לכו נרננה לאדוני, נריע לצור אישנו, נקדמה פניו מתודה, בזמירות נריע לו, כי על גדול אדוני הוא מלך גדול על כל אלוהים. ארבעים שנה אקוט ודור, ואומר עם טועי לבבם, והם לא ידעו דרכי, אשר נשבעתי ואפי, אם יבואון על מנוחתי. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ. page 16. לפני אדוני קיווה לשפוט הארץ, ישפוט תבל בצדק, ועמים באמונתו. We turn to page 20 at the bottom of the page. Hana Bekoach is a Kabbalistic poem that pleads for Israel's redemption from exile. Let's join together. Ana Bekoach גדולת ימינך תתיר את צרורה, קבל רינת עמך סגרנו, טהרנו נורא. אנא בכוח גדולת ימינך תתיר צרורה, קבל רינת עמך סגבנו, טהרנו נורא. נא גיבור דורשי חוטך, כבבת שמרם, ברכם טהרם, רחמם צדקתך. תמיד גמלם חסין קדוש, חסין קדוש ברוב תוכה, נהל עדתך. יחיד גאה למענך פנה, זוכרי קדושתך. שבתנו קבל ושמע צעקתנו, יודע תעלומות תתיר את צרורם, קבל רינת עמך סגבנו, טהרנו נורא, טהרנו נורא. On page 22, we welcome Shabbat again, this time with Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה. lecha dodi לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבל. Let's try that again. I know it's a little new. lecha dodi לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה. lecha dodi לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה. לא תבושי ולא תקלמי, מה תשתוכחי ומה תרמי. בך יחסו עניי ימי ונבנתה, הרלתי לה. lecha dodi לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה. lecha dodi לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה. והיו לי משיסה שוסייך ורחקו כל מבלייך, יסיס עלייך אלוהייך כמסוס חתן על כלה. lecha dodi לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה. lecha dodi לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה. ימין ושמאל תפרוצי בית אדוני תריצי, על יד איש בן פרצי ונשמחה ונגילה. Please rise. lecha dodi לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה. lecha dodi לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום את גם בשמחה ובצולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Try that again. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, page 23, we join together. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך, באמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון מכינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידיך, במעשה ידיך ארנן. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, ועולם קומך שמותיך. מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, ועולם קומך שמותיך. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. שבת שלום. we continue with Jill.
Shabbat Shalom. And thank you so much for inviting me to speak this evening. This weekend's portion, Parshat Bamidbar, is significant for many reasons. First, it is the first portion of the book of Numbers, the fourth of the 5 books of the Torah. Second, it is the portion that comes right before the festival of Shavuot, the festival which celebrates the Jews receiving the Torah. The book of Numbers is so called in English because it contains different instances of census taking. In this very first parsha, in fact, God commands Moses to take a census of all the Israelite males over the age of 20, and a few lines later, a census of all the firstborn males is taken. There's also a detailed focus on the duties of the Levites. The sons of Levi are counted, and their responsibilities are laid out. Many rabbis have written about the numbering and counting of the Israelites in this portion, thinking about what it means to be counted in society. And most certainly, there is a lot to say on that subject. But tonight, I'd like to take a few moments to explore the book of Numbers' name in Hebrew, which is also the same name as this week's portion, Bamidbar. Bamidbar means in the wilderness. Rabbi Shefa Gold explains how Bamidbar fits into a clear narrative, beginning all the way back in the book of Bereshit. The book of Genesis describes our creation. Exodus tells the story of our liberation. Leviticus describes the laws of the newly freed people, set in place in order to create and maintain our connection with God. Bamidbar, then, is our journey into the wilderness. Why, after all, does God have his people wander for 40 years? What is to be lost? What is to be gained? One of the answers our tradition provides is that we needed the time to learn how to be our own people, since we were no longer living under an oppressive ruler. Rabbi Sari Laufer writes that our journey through the wilderness is an anxiety about being in the betwixt and the between, and a certain disquiet about an unknown future ahead. For the Israelites, having just escaped from enslavement and subjugation, and just on the eve of receiving the Torah, the feelings of being betwixt and between must have been palpable. They clearly knew what they did not want to be, but might not have been so sure of what they were soon to become. Sure, they felt that there was a promised land somewhere in the distant future, but where and how was it to be accomplished must have seemed confusing and downright worrisome. Rabbi Shefa Gold continues, the wilderness forces us to face the resistance, ambivalence, and self-delusion that has kept us from wholeheartedly receiving our birthright, the promised flow of milk and honey that is given to us and through us with each moment of life. The wilderness will scare out all of our old ghosts and send them forth from the shadows into the full light of awareness. Maybe you have once heard a friend say that they are not in a good place. We all know the expression, it's a jungle out there. For many of us, indeed, the last few weeks have felt a lot like a tangled wilderness. The tragic events in Israel over Lag BaOmer have given way to a week of terrible violence that has erupted. Our own nation is languishing within another outcropping of senseless shooting sprees. Even as we access free vaccinations and approach herd immunity in our own land, we read about our brothers and sisters in India and elsewhere who are suffering and dying at alarming rates. And if I may add a personal note, after this Shabbos, I will attend the funeral of a son of a close family friend who passed away while just taking an afternoon nap. This Shabbat, The old ghosts that Rabbi Gold describes don't seem that old. They pop up on the news every night and they scare us to our very core. There is a poem by A.G. Sobin entitled Wilderness Area. It opens with the line, climbing the high trails, we are always surrounded by countless invisible hunts. Countless invisible hunts. In which personal deserts do we wander? And what is it exactly that we are looking for? For the American authors, the wilderness was a terrifying place where the scariest things could happen. Washington Irving's Ichabod Crane meets the headless horseman only on his ride away from town. Nathaniel Hawthorne's young Goodman Brown leaves his virtuous wife and congregation behind to fraternize with the devil in the forest. James Fenimore Cooper's The Last of the Mohicans paints the wilderness as the locale of all uncivil, immoral, and wicked actions. And of course, all folklore and fairy tales warn us about the ogres, dragons, and witches who lurk behind the dark trees of the wilderness, just waiting for the wanderer who searches only for a warm stove or a safe place to rest. But Rabbi Jonathan Sacks of blessed memory teaches us that being in the midbar is a necessary part of our journey. He explains that historically, the desert has been a place that has attracted visionaries and groups of individuals who felt that the materialism and corruption of urban societies prevented them from communing with God and from developing their spiritual capacities. He continues, when we undertake the Exodus and wander into the world, we discover the world as the desert. The flight leads nowhere until we stop in order to find our bearings beyond the world. When the world has become desert, man is at last in the solitude in which he can hear thunderingly the voice of the Spirit. In the desert, God spoke to the leader and his tribes in the desert by listening to the voice, by accepting its offer, and by submitting to its command. They had at last reached life and became the people chosen by God. Maybe our forays into the wilderness reveal that we are not lost, but that we are searching. Maybe we're not Ichabod Crane, but we are Huck Finn and Jim on the raft. Freed from the bonds of slavery, racism, and sanctimony, we float down a river of introspection. We need to be wild in a wilderness and deserted in a desert so we can find who we were truly meant to be. Maybe we are Henry David Thoreau, who writes in Walden, we need the tonic of wilderness. At the same time that we are earnest to explore and learn all things, we require that all things be mysterious and unexplorable. Our tradition embeds Thoreau's idea into an even deeper metaphor, teaching that the wilderness is in fact within ourselves. Allow yourself to be treated like a wilderness, the rabbis taught. And Rabbi Sari Laufer goes on from there. It's a startling image, this one of being a wilderness. It's an image that any of us standing on the precipice of something new and unknown might take to heart. Am I to be trampled by uncertainty? Yes. Tread upon by anxiety? Yes. Am I also going to be open to new people, new possibilities, new adventures? Yes, yes, and yes. For the rabbis teach that if we are able to do this, if we allow ourselves to be a wilderness, then the Torah will be given to us as a gift. See, it is the journey that is the priority, not the destination. The promised land comes nearer only after we dive into the wilderness in a vivid and meaningful way. Without the wandering, we cannot know ourselves or what we desire. We go into the desert so we may emerge with the insights and growth that we knew we lacked when we walked in. That is why Bamidbar comes right before Shavuot. I return once more to the topic of the census, which begins this chapter. How do we tie together the theme of wandering in the desert to the theme of the census? I like to think about it this way. Bamidbar must come right before Shavuot so that we reread and remember the uncomfortable state of being neither here nor there, of being betwixt and between. It is okay to be in the wilderness. It's where we do our best thinking. We need to sit with it, be uncomfortable, focus on what it means to be unsure. Because if we do the work, then we are ready to receive the Torah, which is, by the way, only the next step of our journey. So as you ruminate on what the promised land means to you and how you choose to live your Torah, you place yourself within our long tradition of journeying to find our very best selves. It's census time. Raise up your head. Count yourself in. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, יישר כוח. We keep counting. Tonight we will be walking through the last Shabbat of the counting of the Omer as we approach Shavuot. I wonder what kind of selves do we want to become when we receive the Torah. Thank you, Jill. We turn to page 28 in our prayer books and we rise, if you're able, for Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai mevorach. Baruch Adonai mevorach leolam vaed. Baruch Adonai mevorach leolam vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. חוכמה פותח שערים ובית פנן שליטים ומחליף את הזמנים ומסדר. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה. אדוני צבאות שמו. אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני
Baruch Shemo.
המעריב ערבים.
Amen.
אהבת עולם, with constancy you have loved your people Israel, teaching us Torah, mitzvot. We join together on page 29. אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו ושוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה נהגה יומם ולילה ואהבתך לתסיר ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם ושבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ושוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזיזות ביתך ובשעריך.
We continue silently in the middle of page 30. לאות על ידיכם והיו לטוטפות בעיניכם ולימדתם אותם. אשר נשבע אדוני לאבותיכם לתת להם כמי שמיים על הארץ. We continue at the top of page 31.
ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת להם ועשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם ונתנו על ציצית הכנף פתיל תכלת והיה לכם לציצית וריתם אותו וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
אמת ואמונה כל זאת וקיים עלינו כי הוא אדוני אלוהינו ואינו ולתו. ואנחנו ישראל עמו. We continue together, page 32. מלכותו רצון קיבלו עליהם משה ומרים ובני ישראל לחנו שירה ושמחה רבה אמרו כולם. In the middle of the page we join together in מי כמוך. Who is like you, Adonai, our God, among all that is worshipped. Yalla lai rai rai rai, yalla lai 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 lai, yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai lai oh, yalla lai lai, yalla lai 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 lai, yalla lai yalla lai rai rai. Mi Bocha, Ba'elim Adonai, Mi Kamocha, Nedar B'Kodesh, Noram, Tehilot, Osef Elem, Malchutecha. הים לפני משה ומרים וכולם זיילי ענו ואמרו זיילי ענו ואמרו. Let's join together. אדוני ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. אמן. Help us, Adonai, to lie down in peace and awaken again, our God, to life. We're going to do the other melody, Matt. Oh no, we're going to do that melody. It starts the same way. I got confused. This time, since it was a new melody that I just introduced last Shabbat, we're going to sing the first part a few times, just so you learn it with me. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, שלום, שלום, והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים. Okay, let's do that again. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, לשלום, ועמידנו מלכנו לחיים. Same melody, ופרוס עלינו. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך. Amen. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things. Oh Adonai, please keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. 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 כן יהי רצון ומade be God's will. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת. Top of page 34. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. אוי 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 ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש.
יקרא ויקרש שמי רבה.
אמן.
יעמד יברק ירצה והמליך מלכותי וחייכון ביום האחרון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו.
אמן. יהא שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמי יתברך.
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל שמי לקודשה
בריחו
ואלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה Damiran Belma,
Amen. Thank you, Tova, for joining us and leading with us tonight. We continue with the Amidah, the silent prayer. If you are looking for the words in our tradition, you can find them on page 35b. And if you're looking for some space to be and to breathe and to gather your thoughts, if you're looking for a prayer for peace, I hope you can find it in your heart. If you're looking for community, we are right here. Let's take a moment of silent prayer. We will reconvene in a few moments, and if you're able, please rise. לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני צורי וגואלי אמן עושה שלום, שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, אמן, אמן. עושה שלום, שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן, ועל כל ישראל. Amen. Kaddish Shalem is on page 48.
Ikadol v'ikadash shemei rabbah.
Amen.
Yom ha'divra kirteh v'yom lichmo chuteh. V'chai achonu v'yom achonu v'chai d'chol beit Yisrael. V'galho v'zman kariv v'yimaru.
אמן. יהא שמרה במבורך, לעולם ולעולמי עולמי יתברך.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalash shemei dekudasha
בריחו.
le'ela min kol berachata v'shirata tishbechata v'nechamata damiran ve'alma v'himaru
אמן.
Yikabot sotan v'otan de'echo Yisrael kotam avahon dev'yishemaya v'himaru
אמן.
Yehi Shalom Rabba min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael, V'yimaru.
אמן.
Oseh Shalom Mimromav, V'yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael, V'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel, V'yimaru.
Amen. We rise for Aleinu, page 51. We join together. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. שמו תשמע, אני עושה את זה. על כן נקווה לך אדוני אלוהינו לראות מרב תפארת וזכר. כי המלכות שלך היא, וללמיה תמלוך בכבוד, ככתוב את תורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד. You may be seated if you were standing. Before we continue with Kaddish Yatom, we take a moment to make our life count, to make our days count. We count the Omer for the last Shabbat, this particular season. The words for Sfirat HaOmer are on page 55. Not exactly the way I'm going to sing them, but close enough. לשם ייחוד קודשא בריחו ושכינתי, הנני מוכן ומזומן לקיים מצוות עשה. לשם ייחוד קודשא בריחו ושכינתי, הנני מוכנה ומזומנת לקיים מצוות עשה של ספירת העומר, של ספירת העומר, של ספירת העומר, של ספירת העומר. שבע שבתות תמימות תהיינה, שבע שבתות תמימות תהיינה, ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו על ספירת העומר, על ספירת העומר, על ספירת העומר, על ספירת העומר. Yesterday we counted 47 days of the Omer. So I'm going to ask you to join me, if you will, on page 59 towards the bottom for the next count. היום 47 יום שהם 6 שבועות ו5 ימים לעומר. Today is 47 days of the Omer. There are 6 weeks and 5 days to the Omer. I was browsing through the internet and I found the words from a lately very known Israeli Kochav, they call her sort of a star. I'm sure you've heard of Gal Gadot. She writes, "My heart breaks. My country is at war. I worry for my family, for my friends. I worry for my people. This is a vicious circle that has been going on far too long." She says, Israel deserves to live as a free and safe nation, and our neighbors deserve the same. I pray for the victims and their families. I pray for this unimaginable hostility to end. I pray for our leaders to find a solution so we can live side by side in peace. I pray for better days, she says. As we continue with the Kaddish Yatom, I invite you to hold all those victims of this horrible week that just ended from both sides of the fence in your heart. And I'm going to ask Jill to lead us in the mourner's Kaddish on page 52.
We acknowledge the lives lost this past week in Eretz Israel, members of our human family. And in addition, our community honors the memories of the following: Abraham Weiner, Arlene Meehan, Arlene Rosenbaum, Beatrice Fink, Benes Lubo, Benjamin Cloder, Bessie Shapiro, David Harris Hellman, Dolphy Grunfeld, Engel Solomon, Estelle Alt, Ethel Rachlin, Fanny Gertrude Widman, Faye Ricks, Frank Ackerman, Gustav Farber, Harry M. Schick, Helen Weingarten Claster, Herman Green, Edel Segan, Irving Koropkin, Ishak Keshef, Jack Isaacson, James Selig, Joan Pansky, Jose Pineda, Joseph Morris, Judith Bershatsky, Leah Coffenhaus, Leah Witkin Koropkin, Louis Rachofsky, Louise Lorden, Martin Zuckerman, Milton Max Honowitz, Morris Morrison, Nettie Marks, Paul D. Cooper, Pavel Podzemski, Pearl Elizabeth Hassler, Private David Shefflin, Rachel Morgenstern, Robert Levinson, Rosalind Chalik, Rose Brecker, Rose Hacker, Sandra Osorio, Sarah Glickman, Sarah Rubin Pace, Sylvia Schuster, Warren Levin, and Zelda Siegel Kellen. This Shabbat, our community also mourns the loss of Filiberto Lujan, father of Phil Lujan and Karen, and grandfather of Gabe and Nate Lujan. Filiberto passed on Tuesday, May 11th of this year. A private war veteran funeral will take place in his honor. We pray that Filiberto's memory be a blessing. Hamakom Yenachem. May God comfort and strengthen the family at this time. In addition, our community mourns the loss of longtime member Norman Ackerman, husband of Hannah, father of Michael and David. Norman passed away on Wednesday, May the 12th. Funeral and Shiva arrangements are pending. We pray that Norman's memory be for a blessing. Hamakom Yenachem. May God comfort and strengthen the family at this time. If you'll join me in reciting Kaddish in the memories of all those we just named, as well as those who have no one present to do so for them. Please rise in body or in spirit and join me on page 52. Yitkadal v'yitkadesh be'rabah.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach yerutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayachon uv'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'zman kariv v'yimru
Amen.
Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'mei
Barach.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudashah
Barichu.
Le'ela minko birchata v'shirata tush v'chata v'nechamata da miram be'alma v'yimru.
Amen.
Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru.
Amen.
Amen. Oseh shalom bin romav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru.
Amen.
Amen.
As we get ready to conclude our tefillah tonight, I want to thank all of you for being here. And I want to thank also Jill and Tova for obviously hanging with me and Matt and the rest of the community that I know it's there. This is going to be a difficult Shabbat for some of us. It's been a very difficult week for a lot of us. And I hope and pray that those who need comfort will be comforted, and those who whose lives have been lost be remembered for a blessing. Let's close our Sidurim, if you may. We will take the time to pray for peace, sort of as usual, but not really. Odiavu Shalom Aleinu. We're hoping, we're hopeful that peace will bring us closer together at some point. Let's join together. Odiavo Shalom Aleinu. Odiavo Shalom Aleinu. Odiavo Shalom Aleinu. Ve'al kulam. יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו ועל כולם. שלום עלינו ועל כל העולם. שלום, שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל העולם. שלום, שלום. עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו ועל כולם. One more time. עוד יבוא שלום עלינו ועל כולם. עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו ועל כולם. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
You will see the announcements of this week scrolling in a moment. Thank you, Avi, for being tonight our service coordinator. We will get ready for Kiddush. Join me in a few minutes. Go get something to sanctify Shabbat through wine. If you are ready with your Kiddush cups or whatever beverage of your choice, whatever you choose to sanctify, we'll join together. ויהי ערב ויהי בוקר יום השישי, ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם, ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישפוט ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי, ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. Together. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו, ושבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה וראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת עם כל עמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. לחיים, שבת שלום. We'll go to Jill for washing our hands.
I'll wash hands either symbolically or along with you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al hilat yadayim.
Amen. And we join together one final time for challah. Thanks, Rabbi Amy, for baking this wonderful challah. Together. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המוציא לחם מן הארץ בתיאבון. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. May you have a peaceful